Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another episode review from Season 6 of The Loud House. Today's episode is titled, Day of the Dad. First we'll discuss the plot, and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. In this episode, Lori wants to make a good first impression when she plans to meet Bobby's dad for the first time, but an earlier fight over a taxi forces her to change her look so Arturo doesn't recognize her as the one who pushed him into a rain puddle, and her charade actually works. But when Bobby plans more activities, Lori uses Lisa's memory wiping machine to make Arturo forget ever meeting her the day before, but a mishap causes Arturo to forget all his memories. After ruining Lisa's device, Lori is able to restore all of Arturo's memories by pushing him into a puddle like she had done before. The episode ends with Lori apologizing for making a bad first impression, and she and Arturo vow to put the past behind them and make a fresh start. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. Right off the bat, the episode made a reference to the Casa Grande spinoff, and this is where my obsessive need to think about the show's in-universe timeline once again reared its ugly head. It's mentioned that the Louds spend Christmas Eve with Bobby's family as seen during the final few seconds of the holiday special A Very Casa Grande's Christmas. Lori explains how she never got the chance to meet Arturo because she really needed to use the bathroom and Arturo left before she could meet him. I find it strange how those two never crossed paths after Arturo returned home from another run for matzah, but Lori did say her family left before he came back, and maybe Arturo had fallen victim to another shopping nightmare while he was out. But a storyline explanation is a storyline explanation, no matter how questionable. Even though I always appreciate how both shows like to keep their own brand of continuity, more so for The Loud House since 2019, this episode is one of the few examples where it's much harder to pinpoint exactly where it takes place because this time the spin-off is involved. I will go out on a limb and assume the Casa Grande special and this Loud House episode take place during Lori's second year of college, with A Flipmas Carol taking place during Lori's first year of college, given the continuity it has with Flip This Flip. But then the timeline placement for key events in the spinoff, like Arturo officially moving in with his family, as well as the events of Season's cheatings in the Loud House, are still left up for debate. Although at this point I might as well count that Season 5 Christmas episode as non-canon. Or maybe I should really stop overthinking timeline issues by this juncture for both series and just go along with whatever it is they want to do. At least they acknowledge some past events and they have changed up the status quo several times. I guess that's better than either not following up on past events or having everything automatically reset and pretending any big changes never happened. Anyway, let's get on with the actual review. Lori and Arturo's little squabble over the taxi and neither one realizing who they were fighting with and complaining about reminded me of that one episode of Full House where Jesse complained about some slow driving walnut he encountered on the road, and Mr. Donaldson complained about a motorcycle hoodlum while he was out on the road, only for both of them to meet each other again and finding out they both have a relationship to a loved one as their fiance and father respectively. That's pretty much the same situation Lori and Arturo found themselves in. This included the moment Arturo recognized Lori, in her regular clothes mind you, from the previous rainy day right before she wiped his memory, and what led to this episode's resolution was built upon a specific plot I've talked about a few times in other reviews. But before I get to that, let's first talk about this episode's main star, Lori Loud. It was humorous seeing her try to pass herself off by dressing up in anything other than her usual clothes. First she wore a kangaroo onesie with foot cream just to hide her face, and it did match the color of the onesie just for the record, and later going red in the face with spicy mayonnaise, and I really enjoyed her makeover courtesy of Margarita, which definitely deserves a... Of course, this meant she had to wear her brunette outfit again when Bobby wanted to have another pizza outing with the three of them, but Lisa gave Lori a Men in Black inspired memory eraser to make Arturo forget their rainy day encounter so Lori wouldn't have to change clothes every time they met. But as to be expected, a quick and easy fix turned into disaster when Lori fumbled the very sensitive device and caused Arturo to forget every memory he ever had, including everything relating to his own son Bobby. Her problems were only further complicated when she tried to follow Lisa's 170 step-by-step instructions to fix the device, only to fumble the thing once again into a toilet and short-circuiting it. Luckily, Arturo had a feeling of deja vu when he and Lori both put their hands on a taxi Arturo was intending to leave in, and this prompted Lori to shove him into a puddle and thus bringing back all his memories, which of course included the one where Lori shoved him into a puddle the day before. As convenient as it might seem, I will say that on a psychological level, Lori repeating what she had done to Arturo the first time was a clever way of restoring his memories, sort of like how certain sensations can trigger a traumatic memory from the past. fast. Yeah, I know being pushed down into a puddle isn't exactly traumatic, but hopefully you see what I'm getting at. Now I want to talk about the general idea of the story itself, and it's very similar to at least 2 episodes I've talked about before. The main concept of this episode is another example of a main character trying to hide who they really are, and technically speaking, the true nature of their family life so they can make a good impression with someone. That's the same kind of conflict that was used as the basis for episodes like Right and Wrong and Fam Scam. Even though I've mentioned before how I don't like it when a show embraces this kind of conflict more than once, especially when I believe one episode did it better the first time, I will say this episode tackled the conflict better than both Fam Scam and Right and Wrong. The latter I found to be better than the former. What separates the 4th and 5th season episodes from this 6th season episode is the main character's intention for being deceptive. Rita lied about who she really was in order to get a job, and Lola lied about who she really was because she wanted a famous pageant girl to be her friend. Both of their intentions were mostly done for their own benefit and social standing in public, whereas Lori wanting to win favor with Arturo was not rooted in the attempt to boost her own ego. Her feeling distraught over what she had done to Bobby's dad at the bus station was perfectly understandable, and her putting on a masquerade in response to what Arturo was saying about her was relatively justified. Speaking of Arturo, I'm not even critical of how he reacted to Lori and then relaying to Bobby what happened to him at the bus station. As petty as it might seem, the man felt he was disrespected by some college kid. I, in good faith, am not going to say he didn't have a right to feel angry when he found out Lori was the one who pushed him, even if he didn't know at the time she was his son's girlfriend and potentially his future daughter-in-law. Yeah, I know Arturo later said he could never hate someone Bobby truly cared about, but again, he was initially mad when he was reminded of who it was that shoved him. If you look at it from Lori's perspective, you can understand why she did what she felt she needed to do. If Lori indirectly disrespecting Arturo was already bad enough of an impression, it wouldn't exactly be too far-fetched of him to think the rest of her family could be just as disrespectful. In fairness, the Louds can get pretty crazy, and Arturo had not yet seen the more spontaneous side of Lori's family. In other words, Lori's attempts to make sure Bobby's dad never found out she and him had a fight was not just to satisfy her own desire to feel accepted, but more about keeping the peace between the Louds and Casagrandes. Much like the fight that took place during the Thanksgiving special, she was worried about creating another rift between the two families, no matter how ridiculous the circumstances surrounding both conflicts might be. Again, her actions were more honorable with better intentions in the long run in terms of maintaining stable family relationships than the actions conducted by Rita and Lola in their respective episodes. Still, Lori had to come clean to both Arturo and Bobby about being a puddle pusher and should have just been honest from the start. Arturo does forgive her, and they decide to start things off on a better foot. Well, that is until after the hot pizza Lori accidentally threw on him cools down, but hey, that's what comes with being friends with a Loud, right? Welcome to the family, Arturo. Overall, this episode took the main concept from Right and Wrong and Fam Scam and objectively did it better. Lori's intentions were done out of what she thought was a necessity to assure that both her and her family would not create any tension between Bobby's dad and his family, and not just to make herself look good for selfish reasons. It was great getting another crossover with the Casagrandes, with Arturo finally getting a more formal introduction to Bobby's girlfriend and making peace with who I assume would be his future daughter-in-law after their little rainy day taxi fight. In short, despite the questionable timeline placement, I will say everything breaks even for what I consider the best Lori episode of season 6, surpassing Stroke of Luck a few episodes earlier. With that said, I give Day of the Dad a 9.3 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Day of the Dad. Before you click out of this video, I want to quickly bring up one thing that caught my attention during the first half of the episode. The onesie Lori borrowed from Bobby looked very similar to Gumball Watterson. I know Gumball is a cat and the onesie is a kangaroo, but you have to admit that with a very similar blue color scheme and with the way the onesie hood is designed, it's not surprising if you assumed what Lori was wearing was a reference to a show from Cartoon Network. Then again, Lori will look better dressed as a kangaroo than a cat because, let's be honest, Gumball is just a mediocre character anyway.
No, he's not.
Okay, I take it back. But anyway, as far as the rest of the episode goes, what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.